Hello, I'm Sandra Murray of the White Mountain Community Garden located in the heart of Sholo, Arizona. Welcome to AZ Mountain Gardening.
My garden at Sunshine Herbs. I'm Linda.
Okay.
Linda Owens here at Sunshine Herbs, and you want to know how I've got this set up here this year. I surrounded the garden with sunflowers because I like sunflowers. I've got hops over here, and I put the flowers as borders of how you know. So I got the cosmos to the back and all the viney stuff back there. So I don't know what.
Well, that sure must bring a lot of pollinators in with your flowers and your vines
sure.
back here.
And you know, it's just happy
Yes.
to see flowers. Everybody loves the flowers.
So how long have you been gardening in this space?
Well, I've had the shop 12 years, and so I've had it 12 years. Yeah. Every year I add different amendments, trying to keep it healthy, to keep, you know, because the first year that I planted, I had tomatoes like this high because it had been a horse corral. There had been a barn.
Okay.
There had been a barn here. My family has had a history here for a long, long time. My father grew up in a little house over on the corner. There were 12 kids in a little two-bedroom house, and my aunt I rent from Joy Owens. So this is all her property. It's her railroad car. She's generous enough to let me have the garden, and I irrigate with the irrigation ditch. So it's not through hoses or anything else, because I only get the irrigation once a week.
Oh, okay.
So that was kind of tricky to keep the little leafy things. So you can see I have some Swiss chard, and then there's some little ones just coming in between all the purslane, which is very edible and good for you.
Yes, yes.
Anyway, and it's a little hodgepodgey, but that's sort of what happens. And where I've got the marigolds here is the border of where the herbs are. And that's kind of a partial sun, partial shade, mostly shade. And the basil does very well. Rosemary. I've got my dill struggling.
Oh,
see,
yeah.
You can tell I planted it a few times because it's such a tiny seed, and to stay wet, it was tricky.
Yeah, it is tricky.
And of course, with this lovely rain, it's been hard to keep up with the weeds. And I even planted some peas, but they didn't do so well. Yeah, they just got hot. And then all the viney stuff took over. I've got some yarrow growing, some feverfew, some strawberries, some mint. It's just a mixture, just to have something green. This is a new one I've planted this year. It's sorrel.
Oh,
it's
sorrel.
very lemony.
Okay.
That's kind of fun.
Oh, neat.
That's kind of fun.
So how do you just use it like a salad green?
Yeah,
or?
yeah. It's quite tart. It's quite tart. It's nice. I like it. And this is, I planted this just for my little grandson and my granddaughter. This is Stevia.
Oh, lovely. Okay.
Have you ever had that? He loves to come and just take a little leaf and
enjoy the sweetness of it.
Super sweet, super sweet. You can tell this gets more sun, this has more shade, so this is happier. This is a little bit of oregano, well, kind of a happy bunch of oregano.
Oh,
it comes back year after year.
That's gorgeous.
And my thyme, I restarted it this year because it got real spidery, just, you know, spindly. But you know, it's more than I need, obviously. But it's fun to have, and it's very hardy. You can put it in all sorts of recipes. Obviously Italian stuff, and the thyme. I mean, it's got antiviral, antibacterial, antimicrobial. thyme is
a great plant.
It's awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah.
This one here that just looks all leafy right now, that's what's left of the feverfew.
Oh, okay.
It will keep coming and keep blooming, and these dang little seeds, they will just proliferate everywhere.
Oh, wow.
It looks a lot like chamomile.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
It's a pretty little flower.
It is pretty.
And this is my fennel. I love fennel. I grew up in California. Fennel and anise, you know, the licorice, it just grew all over the place. So I love to just come out here and eat it.
I know a lot of people at the garden, they always say, well, what can I do with that herb, or how can I preserve it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can. I dry a lot of herbs. It's quite easy to do. I dried all this feverfew because it's very good for headaches, and I actually sell it in my store. And I like to give the seeds away. So,
wonderful.
Yeah, you just make a tea out of it after it's dried. And of course, you see the lavender. It's very happy over here. And I've got some beautiful tarragon on branches.
Oh, wow.
That is
beautiful.
Isn't that nice?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And this lovely guy, this is lemon balm.
Running your hands through there.
I love lemon balm.
I love it too.
It's a nice, I can throw that in my green drink in the morning too. Doesn't take much though, because it's very lemony. Echinacea.
Yeah, it's
a little of that citronella stuff. I bought that one. I think my favorite one though is the comfrey that just surrounds us here, because comfrey is the healing plant. Its nickname is nip bone.
Okay.
You can make poultices with it. You can dry it and have tea with it. I just finished my green drink this morning. I throw a couple leaves of comfrey and then some spearmint and a little bit of juice and frozen fruit and stuff, and that's my green drink in the morning. Sometimes I throw a little bit of parsley in with it, but you know, greens are so important.
Yeah, they're good for us.
Yeah.
And I understand that comfrey leaf can be a good soil conditioner too.
It is very good for composting. So yeah, it is very nourishing, and animals love it. And they thrive.
Oh, okay.
They thrive with it. Goats and chickens, everything loves comfrey. So this hodgepodge of stuff. This here, you gotta touch this. This is hops, and you see how it grabs onto you?
It is very sticky.
That's like Velcro.
It is.
And of course catnip. Catnip makes cats crazy, but calms people down. Especially good for children. For children as a tea. I do sell quite a lot of catnip. I have it that I harvest here, and I hang it upside down in little bunches inside the shop, and then I strip it down and put it in buckets. And you can get the wild harvested kind, or you can get the store-bought kind in bags if you want it. Spearmint, I have spearmint every day because I throw it in a green drink with the comfrey that I'll show you in a little bit. Flowers in because I love flowers, and I know these are hardy. These little, I need to deadhead them. There's just some sad looking basil. I have some nicer ones over here. They got planted later. So I have irrigation water stuff to do, and I'm working too.
Right. Yeah, gardening. There's always a project.
My staff will. The parsley with our rains is much happier. My cilantro turned into coriander because it's. It bolts. It bolts. I haven't figured out how to grow cilantro and not have it bolt.
Yeah, it's just too hot in the summer.
Yeah. My sage, I had a nice little row of sage here, which was fine in June, but with July and the rains, it didn't like it. And yet the oregano is very happy, very, very happy.
That's
now
gorgeous.
it'll pop up and flower, and at the beginning of the season, it was already flowering, and I cut it back to make it healthier, you know. I like to let things go to flower, like my chives over here. They were just a mass of flowers. As you can see, the bees on the lavender, they were just purple flowers. And I cut them back because I don't want to have chives growing everywhere. You know, I've got the white ones are a garlic chive, and then the purple ones are an onion chive. And this mass here is a bunch of feverfew. You see those little tiny seeds? How they just propagate like crazy.
Wow.
It looks like a little chamomile.
It does,
But
yeah.
it's actually very good for migraines. You just have a cup of feverfew. This one here is valerian.
Well, that was a great tour of your garden, Linda.
Well, thanks. It's
Yeah.
nice to have you here.
Yeah.
Nice
Well,
to have
thank you for inviting us. So we're in front of Sunshine Herbs now, and we're curious, how did you get started?
Well, this is my 12th year, actually. My aunt had a business, Joy Owens, in her home for many, many years. She was a chiropractor and a midwife and an herbalist and vegetarian and just ahead of her time. And she decided in her 70s that maybe she wanted to do something else. She's almost 90 now, but still going strong. And so she rented this building to me and sold me her business. And I hadn't a clue what I was doing, but I like to help people, and I thought, well, I'll supply the herbs that Aunt Joy had done and some of the supplements, and then it just kind of grew. You know, we've got essential oils and all kinds of supplements and grains and beans and nuts and seeds and dried fruit, and I mean, I hardly ever go shopping. I eat out of my garden. I have grains and beans from the store. I spice them up with all the culinary spices, and if I don't feel well, I have a cup of tea. But I drink green drink every morning. I either bike ride or swim or both every day. I mean, this is paradise. This is paradise, especially after the monsoons.
That's right. And a great resource for the community. I mean, you're right here in downtown Sholo.
It's worked out very nice. I have a wonderful group of gals that I get to work with every day, and we just love working here. And I don't have difficult customers. I don't have, people are nice. People are, they're appreciative, they're needy, they need something, and we try to take care of that need. And if I have anything growing out in the garden, I'll pluck some up, and if I have excess, I do have, you know, quite like 7 employees, and I have family and neighbors and friends, so I've kind of decided, as far as excess produce, after I've shared with who I want to share with, then, you know, my customers are my friends also, and I don't want to not share with them, but I'm not growing the garden to make money. I'm growing it because it's good therapy. I love it. It's what I do, and but it's not for profit, because everybody knows how much work you put into a garden.
That's right.
And the expense of starting the garden, and, you know, amending the soil, and keeping it going, and weeding and watering, and yeah, you don't make any money off of a garden.
No, it's a labor of love.
Not here. I mean, you know, you might. I mean, some people are smarter at it than what I am, but I do it just for fun. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Plus, we can enjoy part of the harvest.
Well, yeah. You've got some nice lemon balm tea.
So lemon balm iced tea. It's a great way to cool off in the summer.
I love iced tea. I love it. Oh, that's delightful.
And that's a super easy tea to make. You know, I'm like you. I just like to wander through my garden or the community garden and
nobody drinks enough. Nobody drinks enough water, and it's so important that we drink enough water. And this way, oh my gosh, that is really yummy.
It tastes good.
And lemons are so dang expensive. You know, you can pick some sorrel, pick some lemon balm, make your own. You know.
Right, make your own beverages and sit back and enjoy your garden, right? Instead of just working in it all the time, is to sit back and see who's hanging out there in the garden with you, if it's a hummingbird or some butterflies.
It's a very social, civilized thing to do, don't you think?
I agree.
Growing a garden. I mean, you know, people walk along this little path here to the shop. I know we're sort of kind of set back, but I'm glad, because they walk through here and they just look out at the garden, and you just see the calmness comes over them, and they just look, and you wonder where their minds are going. You know, back, you know, the grandparents' farm or whatever, and there's, wow, you can do that here.
Exactly.
You know? And
that's
like
right.
what you guys do down there at the community garden. I mean, that property was owned by my family, you know, years ago, and it's nice to know that it's just being so prolific and growing so nicely, because my dad talks about, you know, hoeing beans and everything in that area, and I mean there were 12 kids in their family. One passed as an infant, but you know, 7 sons. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, they were farmhands.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, many of us grew up on farms and know what it was important.
So many that haven't, and they just I have a kind of a rickety little path, but you know, they can go and they just sit there on those railroad cars and they just sit and they just look. And maybe that's why my customers are so sweet.
Yes, that's right. That's where the healing begins, is right out there looking at your garden.
Yeah,
yes.
It's a good thing. It's a good, not everybody can go up in the mountains. I mean, you know, we're so lucky. It's so close, but I took a little herb walk Saturday and half of the group was from down in the valley, and I was pointing out things that, you know, that are medicinal, that grow right everywhere. You know, we went along the Sholo Creek, and it was the same kind of feeling. The same kind of feeling. They need that. You can imagine being down in that heat and coming up here to paradise.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
That's a wonderful.
Except when we get a thunder and lightning storm like we had the other night.
So, are you having more of the herb walks this summer?
Yeah, the last Saturday of every month. So last Saturday of August and last Saturday of September.
Oh, great!
And we'll be doing more educational things. I've got a friend from Southwest Herbs that comes up and gives a little free talk about medicinal.
Oh, great!
Different properties of different herbs and for different purposes. Female ones was the last lecture. And,
oh, okay. How can people find out about these programs that are coming on?
Thanks for asking. We actually I have a really smart employee, Danielle, that got us a good website and Facebook. So it's LindaSunshineHerbs.com.
Okay.
And then you can get on the Facebook page for Sunshine Herbs, and we love to have people check that out. She posts things very often, like daily. It's I don't have that ability, so I'm grateful to her for helping me out.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, we all have different gifts and talents, and
absolutely,
I recognize that that's not mine.
So I see many herbs out there in your garden space. So tell us a little bit about some that you may harvest here and have available in the store. Well,
probably the most prolific and the most noticeable would be the Comfrey. I give it away to people fresh, and I pick it because there's excess all the time. So I keep it pruned down so that I get those big giant leaves, and I band it up and hang it, and it dries pretty quickly. And then I scrunch it up and put it in buckets, and we make different combinations. We make Comfrey salves. It's in quite a lot of our different teas and combinations that we have, or you can just buy it loose, like, you know, by itself. But I have quite a lot of that, and the lemon balm. I don't have as much, but I harvest that. Some people like to have the local fresh harvested stuff. Mint, I have mint, and lots of feverfew. I have excess oregano, and I usually just enjoy the lavender. I don't really sell that because people want copious amounts, and I don't have tons of that. I do wild harvest yarrow, and I mean there's lots of herbs that grow around just all over the place. I have some in the parking lot just growing, you know, the plantain. If you get a mosquito bite, you just chew some of that up and put it on your bite. It's very astringent.
You have some beautiful looking plants back there, and I always think though, will the pests show up, and what am I going to do about those guys? So what are some of your strategies to manage?
Well, we have different blends that bug ban. It's essential oil spray. I've got it with droppers or a spray, and it has citronella, lemongrass. Geez, I can't remember all the things that are in it, but because it's not a chemical, you do have to reapply it a little more often. But it's helpful, and then I mean, use your brains. You know, it's like, you know, wear a collar. Don't expose yourself, and tighten up. And I generally, when I'm picking the garden, I'll wear long sleeves and a high collar, and I'll wear a big straw hat, and it just, you know, let my hair down in the back, but I spray this stuff on the exposed areas, and it's very helpful.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you have to have it, because with irrigation, it always pools up at the bottom, and those darn mosquitoes.
Show up.
Yeah, right. But up in the mountains, I've been selling a lot of that stuff, because yeah, people. I mean, for babies and children, you don't want to put that DEET, and it's toxic stuff. I mean, a lot of the herbs are supposed to be helpful. Catnip's supposed to be helpful. And I have catnip growing all over it, and the mosquitoes seem to hide underneath it. So I don't know if that's, you know, maybe it helps, but maybe more concentrated somehow.
That's right.
Yeah.
Are there any of the plants that protect other plants? You know, any of the herbs that are known to protect plants from pests?
Oh, yeah, yeah. But I think you almost have to intersperse the marigolds, and it's quite a science, and in theory, I think it's great, but I haven't seen it like, I generally get bean bugs. I always get squash bugs.
Oh, yes.
I just have to, I pick off, when the squash bugs are small, I can spray them with a little bit of neem and some dish soap and some 2.5 water, and if I stay on top of those little dudes and watch for the little eggs, along the plant, and squish those, and get those mating adults, drop them in a bucket of water as I go. I wear gloves when I'm doing that, because those things are awful.
Yeah,
they're
the
nasty
worst.
looking. They're the worst, but you know, some of my plants succumb, and that's why I have a pretty good sized garden.
That's right.
I don't just depend on one plant, because it's, you know.
Right. And you bring up a good point. When you're out there, we've got to pay attention to our plants and how are they looking.
You look underneath the leaves if they're starting to wilt. It's like you look very carefully, look under. Sometimes I just take my pocket, I've cut it off, and the whole leaf has a colony of those, and I just step on them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, you just have to do what you have to do. And like, I get grasshoppers on the comfrey, and I think, well, I've got plenty to share.
That's right.
So I can't worry about it too much.
Right. If they're just hanging out in the comfrey, I guess that's probably a good thing.
They say to have your plants as healthy as you can, and if the environment is healthy, then the bugs are going to have other things to eat. That's why in June, you know, everybody was telling me about the rabbits and the deer and the ground squirrels, everything eating their whole crop, you know, and they will, because there wasn't anything to eat.
Exactly.
So you got to fence them, you got to protect them. I'm fortunately in an area that I don't have too many critters, just insects, and not too bad. Thank goodness we had the rain.
Yes. Yeah. So I know at the community garden we like to save some seeds from our plants. Is that something that you do here in your own garden?
It's a wonderful thing, and it's fun to share.
Yes.
I have lots of feverfew seeds. I mean, all the greens, you know, the arugula, the bok choy, the mustard greens. I always let a few sacrificial seeds, you know, the plants go up and they get away from me, honestly. And then I think, oh well, I'll just let them go to seed.
Sure.
And then I harvest those. And this fall, or this early spring, I had so many squash seeds, because I hate to, like the winter squash, I had a lot of different varieties of winter squash seeds that I just bagged them up and gave them away to people. And it's fun to hear them say, oh, my squash is growing. Yeah. It's neat, isn't it?
That is neat.
Yeah. But I buy plants and I buy seeds, and I always think I'm gonna start my own tomatoes and peppers and stuff, but I don't have a greenhouse and time gets away from me, and I do what I have to do.
That's right, yeah. We all have to make those choices.
Yeah. It's nice to be able to share with people. We had a lady that came in that had some beautiful tomatoes and bell peppers and Anaheims, and so I bought from her. So that worked out nice. That worked out very nicely.
And some people just love, you know, starting plants from seed. They just have a passion for it.
And then we get too many. Yeah.
Well, we really want to thank you, Linda, for having us here at Sunshine Herbs today. We've enjoyed visiting your garden and its abundance and sharing your knowledge with us. So
well, thank you. Really it's been fun. It's been fun. Yeah, come back. Come back anytime. I'm going to come down and check out your place.
Please do.
I ride my bike down there and I look over there, and it's fun to see happy people.
Yes.
You know,
happy people digging in the dirt.
Yeah, and learning from all variety of knowledge.
Right.
Like we said, you know, the ground is very forgiving. You don't have to be an expert.
Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you next time on AZ Mountain Gardening, where we'll continue to grow and learn about gardening here in the White Mountains.